Hola, hola. Thanks for being with us today. Yo me llamo Max Cisneros. I am the Latinx Program Officer for the New Haven Pride Center, and you are joining us today for a conversation about queer immigration. This is also a continuation of a conversation that I had earlier this year with Jennicet Gutiérrez about the End Trans Detention Campaign. But before we start the second part of that conversation, I wanted to take a moment and take a moment to be able to acknowledge the spirits, the tribes, the nations, and the energies that used to maintain the lands on which we occupy today. Um, the New Haven Pride Center was founded and operates on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Scotticoke, Golden Hill Pagasut, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac peoples. These are tribes, these are communities that continue to exist, and they used to use the Algonquin language. For we hope that wherever you are, from wherever you're from, you take a moment to acknowledge and to honor the native peoples whose lands we now all occupy and the history of the places that we know. If you want to know more about the lands on which you are and the communities that lived on those lands, please visit native-land.ca. Again, that's native-land.ca. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And now I want to introduce Jennicet Gutierrez. It gives us great honor for the second time to be able to celebrate this space. The last time we spoke with Jennicet Gutierrez was during Pride of June. And just to let you all know that Pride never really ends, it's always going on. And out here in New Haven right now, we are celebrating Pride in New Haven. And so to continue this conversation and bring it full circle here, let me give you a quick intro. Not that many folks need it, I would imagine, about Jennicet, so we can go right into the conversation. Jennicet Gutierrez is a Jennicet Eva Gutierrez is a transgender Latina organizer from Mexico. She was born in Taxpan, Jalisco. She's an organizer with Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement. Jennicet believes in the importance of uplifting and centering the voices of trans women of color in all racial justice work. Jennicet will continue to organize in order to end the deportation, the incarceration, and the criminalization of people of color, immigrants and people of color. She currently resides in Arizona, and I would suggest to watch this space. I'm not going to ask Jennicet to spill any tea, but the things that are going on right now in Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement and the movements that are happening around the End Trans Detention Campaign are just really exciting. There's a lot of things going on. So all I'm going to say is watch this space. Otra vez, Jennicet, muchísimas gracias for being with us today. Thank you for being with us. And please let us know if there's any kind of energy you'd like to bring into this conversation before I start with the questions.
Yes, hi Max, thank you so much for having me. Un placer estar de nuevo contigo en esta conversación que es súper importante. I think this conversation is super important. So I'm really grateful for this space, for this opportunity. And yes, as New Haven celebrates Pride, people embraced your sexuality, embrace your gender identity, and many who are undocumented also embrace that. And let's not forget the history of our resistance, of how, as we celebrate with friends, whether you're home, you're out, or whatever you're doing, let us ground ourselves in the powerful resistance that our trans ancestors or ancestors have been teaching us for many generations. So it is, I'm always grateful for every opportunity, and it is an honor. And I'm both honored and humbled to be here with you.
Oh, igual. The feeling is mutual, and I think that sets the tone for the context of what we're trying to do here too. I
Mhm.
think that the conversation we had in June, I think it was June 16th.
Mhm.
It was a week before Familia
Yeah.
Trans Queer Liberation Movement had an action, nationwide action centered around a lot of the organizations on the East Coast, descended
Mhm.
into Washington, organizers from throughout the country, descended into DC, and we had a somber, a funeral, a vigil, a memorial for Victoria Arellano, for Roxana Hernandez, for Joanna Medina, really representing a lot of the folks who have been criminalized, a lot of the folks who have been marginalized, and even worse, under ICE detention, under immigration policy in the occupied United States. Entonces, we spoke on January 16th. A week later,
Mhm.
um, we were together, in front of the White House, and demanding that the current administration and Secretary Mayorkas end trans detention. And so now we've got like what 8 months into the new administration, and so I suppose I wanted to ask you right now, 8 months into the administration, how does the end trans detention campaign look? How has it been impacted, and how is the administration really kind of like reacting to
Yeah.
the activism call, to the organization that's happening around ending trans detention, and all the other organization that's having generally for immigration reform? So I wanted to ask you basically, how has it changed, and if you're feeling as if what's kind of impact the end trans detention is having on the current administration?
Yes, I think the End Trans Detention campaign has had a tremendous impact nationally, even before this administration. We have to acknowledge the work of so many people that have contributed to this issue and specifically aligning with the End Trans Detention campaign, demanding the release of undocumented LGBTQ people in detention center facing inhumane treatment, right? They shouldn't be detained, not even for a day. And you mentioned the action that we had in DC in June of 2021 during Pride Month, which was part of the entrance detention campaign, and also reminding the community, right, the mainstream LGBT community, that there's no pride in detention because of unfortunate cases of Roxana Hernandez, Victoria Arellano, and Joanna Medina. So all that work, all that sacrifice that many people have believed in the campaign is obviously feeling in DC. So there's no way they can say what's going on because there's a lot of things that have been going on over the last 7 years. And yes, we have a new administration that it's not doing enough to end the detention of our people, that it's not doing enough to end all deportations in this country, right? Coming out of a really horrific, racist, xenophobic, transphobic administration under Trump. And, we just don't have time to wait while people are still suffering. So now there is a very good opportunity. There is a policy at the desk of the Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Mayorkas. The Biden administration is aware of this memo where community advocates, organizations, mostly grassroots, attorneys are telling them what end translation looks like, right? That people shouldn't be detained, specifically trans and non binary individuals, people living with HIV or any medical condition, because I, time and time again, there's many, many reports of many people that are not receiving the proper care. So this memo is the trans memo specifically, but I think it's a big step, it's a big door into ending all detention. And in doing so, we're doing just a very, if we achieve this policy and the administration does add, trans folks, non-binary people, people living with HIV or any medical condition into the vulnerable populations and make it a federal law where they don't have to be detained, that is a major victory, right? That's the minimum they can do based on all the suffering that people have faced under Customs Border Patrol, CBP, under ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and also honoring the lives of Victoria Arellano again, Roxana Hernandez, and Joanna Medina, three trans immigrant women who died while in ICE custody and then shouldn't They shouldn't have died. They should still be with us, fighting for their dreams with dignity and their humanity. So those are the consequences that happened when ICE continues to detain our people. We have their cases are so extreme. So, people, as you are gathering, with your family, blood chosen, with friends, when you're on your own, please look into the End Trans Detention campaign and the work that has been done by community and the demands that we are clearly saying to this administration. I think you're on mute.
I knew that. I was just testing you. Anyway, pero sí, eso es lo que habíamos hablado in June about
Right.
the End Trans Attention campaign. Not just that, but also the website. The website really is very comprehensive. It gives the history. It also gives a chance for folks to try to understand what they can do where they are. We were lucky enough to be able to, connect with Familia, Queer Liberation Movement out here in Connecticut, and kind of like, restart Connecticut Familia, and also kind of like, boost it and allow folks to be part of the things that are going on nationally. So that's how we were able to join Familia in DC, be part of that very touching and healing memorial, and also which lead right into stopping traffic in front of the White House for 18 minutes, which is probably one of the honors of my life. So being able to do those things together, honestly, it just feels like this is what we can do from where we are. And then when we get together and connect, how much more can we do, really? So right there, you'll see endtransattention.org, and also it's going to be in the comments on the Facebook and YouTube broadcast of this. Pero también, to bring it full circle, because part of what I was asking here is, with the question in regards to, Biden is set in his chair in his office now, and I had repeatedly said that Latinx organizers throughout the country, LGBTQ plus organizers throughout the country, there was a shared objective to defeat Trump. There was a shared objective among immigrants, among LGBTQ plus organizers, Latinx organizers throughout the country to defeat Trump and put Biden in the White House. And now that did happen. Some of the strongest fighters in battleground states like Georgia, some of the strongest organizers pretty much made it very possible, for Biden to beat Trump, and it did happen. And so now here we are, demanding that change. The check, we're basically just like holding accountable the administration that many organizers throughout the country, supported him getting there. Fought really hard for him to get there. So part of what I'm also asking here is, you have your own history with this vice president, with this president when he was vice president. You have your own, you were invited to the White House in 2015 during an LGBTQ plus, celebration at the time. And I think folks are probably thinking about, well, let me just show the video and then I'll ask the question, because I want there to be a bit of a context of where we are, where we were, where you were, right, and where you are and where we are now as we talk about the End Trans Detention campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. Just a quick moment. Share screen window, and I have it queued up here. Entonces, aquí es el momento donde el President Obama starts talking.
Gathered to celebrate Pride Month, and I've told you that I'm so hopeful about what we can accomplish. I've told you that the civil rights of LGBT Americans is... Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, you know what? No. No. Hey. Yeah, listen. You're in my house. Come on. It's not, you know what? It's not respectful when you get invited to somebody. You're not gonna get a good response from me by interrupting me like this. I'm sorry. No, no, no. Shame on you. You shouldn't be doing this. Can we escort this person out? Come on. You can either stay and be quiet, or we'll have to take you out. All right. Can we have this person removed, please? Come on. Come on. Come on. As a general rule, I am just fine with a few hecklers, but not when I'm up in the house. You know what I mean? Because, you know, my attitude is if you're eating the hors d'oeuvres, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And drinking the booze.
All right, I think that's enough. Pero I think of this makes me think of. I'm not going to ask you how good the hors d'oeuvres or the booze was, but I did want to point out that President Biden, then Vice President Biden, was right next to him, and he did ask him. You know what I'm talking about, and and he agreed with his boss. So part of what I'm asking here, and connected to the last question I asked, is how much has really changed? And you answered it when you did say, we have a lot of work to do. And I think that's appropriate to ask ourselves. We do have a lot of work to do. A lot of Latinx LGBT organizers throughout the country worked really hard to make sure that President Biden is in the seat he is now, and now is the time to hold him accountable. And so I show that clip to be able to provide a context of where we are now nationally, where the immigration reform movement is now. But I also going to give you the opportunity to provide us a little bit of history of where we are now, where you feel you are now as an organizer that did what you did in 2015, being treated the way that you were by other LGBTQ plus organizers. And so I thought I'd give you the opportunity to be able to explain a little bit more, have a little bit of healing about where we are now.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see, right? Vice President Joe Biden at the time in 2015, now President Biden in 2020, when he won in 2021, and the reaction, right? That the best he could do just be in agreement,
Right.
and then like laugh, like if it was a joke, when I'm talking about lives who are suffering, people, not just in detention, but like one of the points I highlighted was I'm tired of the violence like trans individuals are facing. And by that, I meant, Black trans women, the murders of Black trans women of color, the discrimination, and all of that. So that's a very obviously, we're in a different context politically with this administration that wants to position itself as a friendly to the LGBT community, as a friendly to the immigrants' rights community, but they're still not doing enough. And we, as organizers and advocates, shouldn't be uh, just waiting for them to deliver. You know, this is a good reminder, right?
Right.
And it's been different sort of political context where the point that I'm going to bring up, but we still, right, in 2021 with this administration are receiving any of the promises that have been made. So we're thinking about Obama's administration, immigration reforms, obviously in Trump, none of that was possible. And now there's conversations around the possibility of a path to citizenship. And still a lot of conversation, but it's not really uh, it's not becoming a policy, it's not becoming a reality yet.
Yeah.
Right. And in this very moment, we also have to acknowledge again the work that many trans and queer folks have put in this fight. A lot of the dreamers are, trans and queer who made DACA possible, even though it's a temporary program. It was possible because of the many organizers and people the youth that put their bodies on the line. And not just like cis heterosexual, they were like trans and queer, loud and proud and being out as who they are in their full humanity. And they were nothing to be ashamed of, they were nothing to hide. So we can't, yes, agree on something when many people are going to still be penalized or people are going to be excluded. So we have to put attention to all the details, because I wouldn't be surprised if this administration is going to majorly emphasize, yes, we're going to have a path to citizenship, but also there's going to be, if you have an arrest, if you were ever broke the law for any crime, you will be immediately deported or put in deportation proceedings. And if people have been here for many years, nobody should be deported in the first place. You know what I mean? Specifically trans and queer folks, because we know many faced so many challenges in the countries that they're living, from Central America, Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Mexico, and just facing so much risk. So then we are, still waiting for any news to come out, and that's why I think the entrance detention, it's a very tangible, it's a powerful campaign that has been led, and this is where the major change has come up, I think, in my opinion. A lot of the mobilization, we are seeing new faces of leadership, specifically trans immigrant women who are doing tremendous work, from Southern California to Houston to New York City and Seattle and other cities across the country. So the trans immigrant leadership is becoming more visible. And that means that we're going to continue to hold this and any other administration accountable until we really don't have any of our people in detention facing humiliation, guards and other inmates making fun of them for being trans, for being queer. And, that's unacceptable. And they have tons of evidence. They have tons of evidence already what is really happening. And for them to continue to, oh, let's just improve things, let's just make it better. Like, no, that is not the solution. Again, this campaign, and I'm so grateful that you highlighted the link to the website, entrancedetention.org, where people can learn more about it. That has been done. Obviously, we don't have the full history of the campaign.
Right.
In 7 years, there's been many, many pieces that have been moving. But the minimum people can do is sign the petition that is there, that we are, thinking about delivering those again to DHS, reminding the Biden administration that people are still being detained and they shouldn't be detained. You know, so that's, I think that is sort of what I can share specifically, and I just cannot highlight enough how we should never get comfortable, no matter who is in power.
Right.
And what I mean by that, because under 4 years of Trump and the threats that he was giving to the taking rights away, and we are seeing that now through the courts, right? Even if a Democratic administration is in place, we're seeing that in Texas with the reproductive justice, and many of the judges or some of the judges of the Supreme Court were appointed by Trump. So his shadow is still like impacting us. And the point that I was making is some people were marching, protesting, and because of the threat of, everything that has been fought so hard, that started to be sort of stripping away, taken away. And I remember some signs saying, like, if Hillary would have won, we'll be having brunch. Like, no, there's no time. I mean, you can do brunch and everything, but let's not be that the reason because the Democrat is in office.
Yeah.
Because at the end, again, what issues are at the core of your values and your principles? Are you okay with having a beautiful time with people and knowing that there's undocumented folks in detention suffering. We have the case of Leilene Polanco, who died at Rikers, for not paying like a bill of $500, and now she's no longer with us. So these injustices are happening in under our watch, and we shouldn't let this or any administration get away with it. They need to be held accountable and don't wait until another trans person or non-binary individual, people living with HIV, die in custody, whether in prison or at a detention facility. So the bigger fight really is to abolish all these detention centers across the country and beyond,
Yeah.
that prisons shouldn't exist because of how horrific treatment that they give to people.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for mentioning the Texas House and Senate bills, because I think that after part of the phenomena that we saw happening was that after Biden came into office, I think a lot of folks probably thought that the threat was over to a degree, but the states still have a great deal of power in the ways that they can also, criminalize, they can oppress, and they could put trans folks, LGBTQ plus folks, particularly youth, in danger. And so this bill that's going on in Texas is significant, even though there's been 19 other states, if I know right, that have tried anti-trans bills like this, and I think Arkansas was the only one that really passed it, overriding their governor's veto. But in Texas, it's particularly egregious because it's the second largest state in the union. But other than that, also because I think Lambda Legal, ACLU, and Lambda Legal also said that out of all the anti-trans bills in the country, this is probably the most extreme, egregious one that puts youth, LGBTQ plus youth, particularly trans youth, in serious danger,
Yeah.
in serious danger of suicide ideation, and serious danger of depression rates rising. And so this bill in particular, two of the strongest reasons as to why 1399, I think it is, this Texas bill is so dangerous, is because just the proposal on the day of the proposal of this bill, the local doctor in that district already of the person who wrote the bill,
Mhm.
Edgewood, the representative from Edgewood, said that there was an increase of calls
Yeah.
from families saying that their children were feeling depressed or feeling suicidal.
Yeah.
And so that is a direct relation to how this bill, if you are an LGBTQ youth, if you're trans youth, and you're seeing this is the way that your state government is treating you, this is the way that they see you. And one of the reasons that I think that ended up being promoted or said that it's child abuse
Yeah.
to provide puberty therapy or hormone therapy or suppressive puberty therapy, and to provide this as child abuse. These are usually said by the same groups and organizations that have no problem having children perform communions or put them in baptism ceremonies, but this is child abuse. And so the hypocrisy here, and it's usually folks that end up on the same side of the aisle when it comes to reproductive rights. It always seems to be the folks who seem to know better than the other one. Like, I know better than what you need, right? It always seems to be folks who are telling us what we need rather than us telling them what it is we need. But the point I'm making here simply is that that after Trump left, the states still have the power to make life difficult. The last time for LGBTQ plus folks, including the youth, who are most vulnerable, most at risk, last time we spoke, there was the possibility of Middletown, Connecticut, a detention center that's in Middletown, Connecticut, that was proposed to be a ICE detention center for families, a family detention center. And then it was thwarted, and the governor didn't approve it, Governor Lamont out here. But that was one incident that had just happened here in Connecticut, and we were just talking about a bill that was in danger of passing in Texas that could still, and so we can't be sleeping on that. And so I guess part of what I'm getting to here is wherever people are, there are things that they can do to be part of the End Trans Detention campaign. There are things that are going on in your municipalities, in your state houses, in your area, and I'm sure that there's also LGBTQ plus folks in your area that would want to do something, would want to be part of what Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement is doing. And so, what are the ways in which folks can connect with Familia, and also be part of these campaigns in their own way? So they, in case they can't go to DC, or they can't go to Phoenix, or they can't go to California, what are the ways that they can, in their own way, fight this struggle with you?
Yeah, no, thank you, Max, for highlighting Texas. I think people need to pay very close attention to what's unfolding there, specifically with immigration and also, the trans community. I think both groups are going to become heavily a target by conservatives, and we are seeing, I think Texas is really testing a lot of the things that they want to do and be able to regain power in 2024. So, it's a lot happening, and you make some very good points about, what is happening, people facing so much anxiety and creating depression and all of that. So that's not the world we should be creating. People should be free to determine them who they are and live openly and freely. So again, I can emphasize how critical Texas is right now for immigration and trans rights in this country. And what I will say to people, organize. Something I've heard from other very wise organizers, abolitionists, like organize, organize, organize. Find yourself a political home that speaks to you, where you can align your values and principle into what kind of like equality, equity, and liberation you want to see in our lifetime, right? And what world are we leaving behind for those generations who are right now the target, who are suffering? And even further, to penalize parents, to penalize you know friends, it's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So find a home that's a political home and organize, get people involved. And if Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement is one of those homes for you that you feel, whether you're Latinx, undocumented, trans, queer, Afro Latino, Latina, Latinx, however you identify. Um, I think you can connect through specifically with this issue of ending trans detention. Again, go to that website that is listed here. You can go to social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now we're also on TikTok. Hey, we're growing, and we have an amazing social media narrative person who's doing brilliant work. Shout out to Diego and open a TikTok account. So we're also, want to reach out the youth and get them engaged. So all platforms are Familia TQLM, right? That people can find out about the work, the issues that we care about. We also have a website, familiatqlm.org, and see how you can plug in, how you can support. Again, because the next 2 years are going to be really, really difficult, even under this administration. And we shouldn't just sit and cross our hands, you know, while so many attacks are still happening from the right, from, conservative governors across the country, and also how trans youth has been targeted in different states, not just Texas, but in Arkansas, in Mississippi, and other states across the country. And there's more bills, right, that will be introduced that are very alarming in the impact that it can have for the future generation of our community. So there's many ways, that if you were a student in school, and I know many are reintegrating after a year of over a year of living under the pandemic,
Right.
and join any groups that you think are beneficial to you, but don't be in isolation, in these moments. You can find ways, you can get creative in how you can connect, how you can support each other, and that you will speak up, right, on issues that you care about, whether it's at home, You can have these very difficult conversations with your loved ones, whether it's at school, when teachers are not really acknowledging your, identity. I know the pronouns are becoming a major battle. Some people are like, why do I have to say, it's just like, does it really take that much for you to say, to type in he, him, his, they, them, theirs, or she, her, hers? It's just like, but people don't want change. They're just so comfortable and they feel a threat. So the more organized we become, the more visible, we're shaking the status quo. And who are we hurting? Like, who are we hurting? We're really not hurting anyone. Like, we are, trying to make it better. So don't give me that, like, you know, this is too much, or why should we just, like, very strict to the binary. And that's why, to me, uplifting voices that haven't been uplifted, even in our spaces, it's critical.
Oh yeah.
So, again, all social medias, Familia TQLM, there's the entrance detention um, website, the familiatqlm.org, and then just, you have everything accessible in your computers, your phones, and just organize and connect.
Yeah, sí, pues ahí the familiatqlm.org website is right on the banner, and I'm also going to put it in the comments too. And at the bottom of the website, you will see social media platforms covered here. Entonces, you're so right when you say, now I wanna like touch on it a little bit, porque comunidad es muy importante. Community is a place
Mhm.
where you'll find celebration, affirmation, and it is something that that I've been very benefited from here at the New Haven Pride Center. We put a lot of emphasis on being able to like create these safe spaces, let the community create their own safe spaces, so they can find that affirmation, find that celebration, find that community. And entonces, community is so important to also understand how we can protect each other, how we can make each other, safer and fortify those safe spaces. Entonces, en mi manera, I'm gonna engage in some in some praise here, because it was your visits throughout the years to Connecticut. It was
Mhm.
your visits, whether it was speaking at the Yale, Hispanic
Mhm.
Alumni Association,
Mhm.
or speaking at other organizations that were specifically fighting
Mhm.
for undocumented immigrants.
Mhm.
And it was your visits that made it easier for folks out here to see that there is community out here, whether
Mhm.
you were in Hartford or New Haven, or Norwich. You found folks that were who were looking for a community like this, and thanks to that, Connecticut Familia was
Mhm.
able to find a space, find folks, get together, create a safe space, and find community. And now we're out there also, creating spaces thanks to New Haven Pride Center and other organizations to be able to provide a place for us to kind of get together and build on that. And so community is just so important. And I wanted to thank you in your in your own journey in coming here and helping us create these spaces. It's just so important to have.
Yeah, no, I'm just part of the community, and I'm so fortunate to have been able to travel to New Haven and the other places, because I was also looking for community, right? I knew people, like, we are everywhere, even in the places that people don't think about.
Right.
We exist. So we need to find each other. So the support that you have given, and since we met, in Philadelphia, and since then, getting together, to have carne asada, to have some dancing time, and
Yes.
things like that. That is also part of organizing, right? And connecting with people, and you start to have, deeper conversations. You start to value each other's really humanity, and understanding what is our place in this moment, and where are the challenges that we are facing. And I myself don't have all the answers. Familia doesn't have all the answers, and that's why we need community to continue to build, right, power in this country, that we can move beyond entrance detention, that we can say, this was a community, a grassroots based win, and we can be sure that no more people will be detained in detention. And then what other issues can we move on and start to really tackle, right? And specifically protecting the youth, and also trans youth in this country. So yeah, Connecticut holds a special place in my heart. I know Richard, Tamara, we just met, and I think we are coming together for a specific reason. So I want to continue to build and support, right? Not just Connecticut Familia, but your leadership as an individual, and what can Familia at the national level provide to the people there that we continue to support in whatever campaigns you might be having or issues that people are facing.
Oh yeah, yeah, and also connect with local organizers
Yeah.
from New York and Massachusetts, around New England,
Yeah.
and just be a regional space for folks. Even if it means come here, we will support, and then go to your places and help build those spaces. So there's a lot of opportunity here. I think, and that's what that's what makes it an exciting time. You're so right when you say also that just because there is a Democrat in the White House doesn't mean it's going to be easier. But in
Mhm.
those moments in which it's difficult, we have community to help support us through those difficult moments, right? And so that's why it's just been so vital for us out here. So te quiero dar gracias for all the work that you've done there, and familia generally. Pero encima de eso, también I wanted to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, because, we talk about things that are difficult, and these are problemáticas that our communities are faced with,
Mhm.
pero también I think there's got to be moments for queer joy. There's got to be
Yeah.
moments también for, like you mentioned, de las carnes asadas y los bailes, to me it feels like those are the moments that I'm like, yes, this is what brings me healing. This is what brings me sanación. Being in the community when I'm with Richard and Tamara and we're together and we're on our way to go see you, on our way to go see other community members throughout the state and stuff. There's some energy that's being lifted there, and it makes me feel good. That's what's bring me joy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what brings you joy? What brings you queer joy? What
Yeah.
gets you through the difficult moments, if I could ask you?
Yeah, no, I think we need a lot more joy, not just individual, but collective as a community, because of how much we've been holding for so many, many generations. And I think part of the joy that we bring to the world is to heal so many abuses. And before getting deeply involved in movement, Max, I used to dream about being like a dancer, being a choreographer, because I was always found a lot of joy in like going to concerts, seeing musicals, and I started to participate in festivals. So music, the arts have always bring some joy, to my spirit, to my heart. So dancing, is something that I'm a Gemini too, so I'm very social. I'm very like extrovert for the most part. Ever since I grew up in Mexico, my mom, my single mother, Ofelia, she had a small business, selling magazines. And I used to just go and mingle with other business owners in Tuxpan and just talk, make friends. So just, connecting with people also brings me joy. And even when people um, are not being genuine, like the universe does, I believe the universe does its magic and takes them away, and it's okay. We have to continue to uplift other people and make sure that you are aligning with people that, because I also feel that energy when you're coming from, Connecticut to New York, when the times that I can go to you all, I can feel that love, I can feel that energy. And once we get together, we just like embrace each other so beautifully, So, um, yeah. So then, I was like, I love the arts. I love the arts, and I'm also thinking in ways how can, as we faced so many challenges as a community with heavy political issues, how do we get very creative in incorporating art and bringing entertainment, to our communities? And one very good example in Santa Ana, California, there is an organization led by trans immigrant women, Alianza Trans Latinx, and they provide direct services to the community. and support and have meetings, provide food throughout the week and different workshops. But they also have a folklorico group, all trans women and some elder, trans immigrant women that are just like, it's about 6 members, and they're just dancing in their truth, in their beauty. And just to see that realization in my lifetime, I was like, that's what I was dreaming about doing when I lived in Mexico. My dream was to go to Mexico City and join the ballet folclórico de, ay, se me olvidó el nombre, de la señora, muy popular, very popular señora. And I will see like myself being part of that production and traveling the world, um, just bringing joy to people and embracing my culture. But obviously, times were different, and I wasn't allowed to fully express my gender at a very age. So I had to sort of hold back. But now that Jennicet is here, I want to figure out ways how to support, sort of that brings joy to people, whether it's through music, whether it's through dancing, whether it's through reading, whether it's through writing, whether it's just to form groups for people to share space to process things, and doesn't have to always be structured and have a specific agenda. And let's figure out, the strategy. I think there's room and space for all of that, but I think just, that brings me joy, honestly. And to still be alive, to still be breathing, that I have a very supportive family now, both blood and chosen, that really see my truth, right? That see my truth. And I think that also gives me strength, that gives me joy. And I try to be as open as I can. And sometimes I'm dealing with a lot of issues and I'm like, energy is low, but I'm still showing up some way, pero pues esas son las cositas, those are the things that, bring joy to Jenny Set. And I want to continue to discover what are other things that, bring joy to me and the community. And I think it's a process that happens. And sometimes just what brings me joy is being on Grinder, I'm just kidding. I don't have Grinder. I don't have it, but if it brings joy to people, that's fine. But yeah, those are the things that I want to continue to explore and learn more about. Do I want to take a class in art, poetry, music, a dancing class, something like that? I think it would be very beautiful, and something can come out of that. Your sound is off.
I'm in the office with the air conditioner, so it gets really loud, and so I want to make sure that you come in clear. Well, I forget I mute myself, pero yeah, I know a little bit about that grinder joy. No, but I know a little bit more about, like, honestly, I have to say that, para mí, the joy that I find when I'm in the community con familia, con gente conectado con Connecticut familia, is a place so I could be brown, so I could be Hispanic, so I could be Latinx and queer. Where I can be those two things together, that gives me joy. That gives me joy. Bailando cumbia con mis trans friends gives me joy. Like, it gives me joy to be able to be both queer and Latinx and have that affirmation, that celebration in that same space. And familia me lo dio a mí. And it's been growing ever since then. And it totally resonates with me what you're saying about the arts, because en muchas veces it seems like there's things that can't be expressed as well as the arts can. Sometimes something that's fiction can ring so much more true than something that's nonfiction. Y entonces eso se puede encontrar mucho en las artes. Y yo lo he encontrado. Some of the most affirming places have been in fantasies that aren't really fantasies. It just rings so true. Entonces sí, eso es algo que de veras I have felt. And I, look forward to every once in a while, be open to that. These are the only things that give me joy. Be open to different ways in which you can find it. Entonces, yeah, what you're saying definitely resonates with me, Entonces, yo creo que estos espacios se van a crecer. You know, they're going to grow. And right now is a time where we can both hold on to that fire for each other to be able to grow these spaces more and more, you know. We're already coming across the hour. Pero quería dar un chance for folks to understand that, you know, wherever you are, you know, however you want to be involved, there's a space for you in these communities. There's a space for you in this movement, you know, and everyone has a role to play if you want to. And of course, these are safe spaces for us to walk into and do what we want with them, you know, do the things that we feel like the kind of energies we want to bring to it. I did, and I was surprised how useful I can be in a movement when before I was thinking, I don't know how I can, what I can do, where can I go? But there's uses, hay utilidad y mucha gente que quiere tu ayuda, quiere tu apoyo, you know, and the support is there. The support is there to nurture, to grow, and to celebrate. Entonces, acabando con la conversación, this to me feels like a nice little recharge for us to know a little bit more about how we can connect with Familia, with Trans Queer Liberation Movement, with the End Trans Attention Campaign, y también para to give folks a chance to understand a little bit more that, hey, there is no pride in detention, and wherever there is pride, there are LGBTQ plus folks who are seeking trans queer liberation too. So these things are not antithetical. Dime?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And just to close, right, I also, there's no pride in any injustice, period. So I just want, to leave people, if you see injustices against Muslims in this country or globally, to stand up for that. If you see injustices against, LGBTQ people, injustices against, within the attacks on reproductive justice, and not just this woman, but also trans individuals and non-binary folks. If you see injustices around the Black community, injustices about poor people, to stand up. And again, regardless of who is in office, we can do so much better as a country. We can do so much better as a humanity, and that is what I will continue to commit and fight for. So, with that said, again, people, you have been so good in listening. I think this StreamYard is so wonderful because
No, right.
you can add so many details like the title, the name, pronouns, and also the website. So that's very helpful to people to go to. Also, um, or social medias, including TikTok. Yes, we're gonna be showing, we're gonna show history of Familia and the work that we've done. So we have 30-second videos, and staff is gonna be getting creative and having fun. So all social media, you can find us on Familia TQLM. We have also a main website, familiatqlm.org. There's Connecticut Familia, led by so many people, or small group of people who are very passionate, and you should also reach out, support. You have a page on Instagram and Facebook, so people can find you and get engaged. Engage. And Max, it's always so wonderful. I feel like I'm actually with you. I feel like you have such a beautiful energy, and you're finding so much. Just having this conversation with you it really, it's warming me up, and just getting me, giving me a lot of hope too, that there will be so many other more people getting involved and making a difference.
Oh yeah, like definitely. There's spaces where we can go and we can grow. So we'll be sick of each other soon enough. So no worries. Pero siguiendo adelante, te quiero dar muchas gracias por estar con nosotros otra vez. Thank you again. And this is a continuing conversation that we'll be having as long as trans folks, people who are HIV positive, and immigrants are being detained and deported. We're going to be out here, and we're going to be out here fighting for their rights, and their humanity and dignity. Entonces, muchísimas gracias otra vez for being with us. Anybody who has any questions, of course, you can go to newhavenpridecenter.org. We're also on social media all over the place. I'm not sure if we have a TikTok. Okay, not yet. All right, that's something that we can work on. But shout out to Diego for making one for Familia. And then moving forward, hasta la próxima. Espero que estés bien. And like always, happy Pride.